I'm talking about.
Wilder has had too much time in his hands. He need to go back to the gym and he need to start getting ready for another fight just to show people what he is the WBC heavyweight world champion and so on and so forth. So he can be back on that stable of fighting those guys like Fury and AJ again. You know, so he need to focus on his own damn self. Go back in the gym. He has too much time in his hands. Get ready for a fight. I don't know if he has a fight lined up. And just stop talking about a dent in your head and stuff like that. It happens. It's boxing. Move on. You're a grown man. Stop being a bitch.
Wow. Wow, those are some strong words.
What comes around goes around.
That's not disrespect. I got all the belts. Hey, listen.
Modern history.
Listen, you're a true champ. Forget the rest.
Yo. You got, hell of a fighter, but I won tonight, man. And everybody know that. The referee raised my hand. I won tonight. I don't care what anybody says, yo. I won tonight. At the end of the day, I've been here. I've done that. I want to thank God. I want to thank everybody that came out tonight. Look, I ain't no sore loser. I take my wins like I take my losses.
Stop being a bitch.
Wow, those are some strong words.
I won this fight. Everybody knew I won tonight, and I'm just thankful.
Did you believe this was a close fight going into those last 2 rounds?
No, I don't. I don't believe it was a close fight at all. I believe that I scored 11-2. Well, 10-2.
You believed you won 10 of the 12 rounds?
Yes, I did.
George?
Listen, you got to move up, bro, because you're a bit delusional, brother, all right? Listen, I got the belts. I won the fight. I won it clean and clean. Look at your face. But you know what? I give you respect. I came here. I gave you the respect in the ring, and I won the fight. I got the belts. Take it like a champ. Move on. We do it again in Australia. 80,000 people, me and you, brother. What a war we'll have in Australia. Let's do it again.
Tio, he needs to clean it up, and the sooner the better, and give Kambosos his due. I thought Tio could win, but he didn't win. His legs were shot to pieces. He can't fight at this level at 135 no more, that's clear. I expected more movement from Tio, but it was Kambosos who was the master when it came to using his feet. I made this tweet a day before the fight saying Tio's got to go get him early, because if he is struggling at the weight, I don't see him looking too good in a long distance fight. I still thought he'd win. And you saw how he came out. He did try and get him early. He was really going for that first round KO. But, you know, this is the first round. You can get caught cold. And the reckless abandonment that he came out with, he left himself so open. He must have so little respect for Kambosos' power. And he paid for it and got floored, which basically set a tone for the fight. He walked onto a right hand. There was a similar flow in this fight to the Joshua Usyk fight. That was an upset. This was an upset. And from about the, I want to say maybe 7th or 8th, Tio was getting back into the fight. He was timing Kambosos with that right hand. I've checked the CompuBox and they're saying that Lopez actually landed more jabs. Maybe I've got to watch it again. But he was timing Kambosos with some good right hands. Finding the timing. But if you look at the fight, man, how ridiculously low Tio is carrying his hands at times. And he paid for it. You saw how busted up he was around the face. But he looked like he was getting back into it. And Joshua, there was a period, I think probably around the 7th as well, he looked like he was getting back into it. And I thought, okay, Joshua's got this from here. And with Tio, from about the 7th or 8th, I said, okay, Tio's got this from here. And Kambosos' jab was excellent all throughout. Tio may have landed more jabs. Kambosos did more damage. Kambosos kind of lost focus and Tio was getting into it. And Tio floored him in the 10th with a right hand. And I thought from here that Tio had this. But Kambosos shook it off, rode out the crisis, and arguably won the last 2 and took a deserving decision. Now this is just my opinion. Both AJ and Tio are elite fighters, but they got shocked by 2 guys who upped the gear at crisis points in the fight or at critical points in the fight. I tell you what, that was an excellent lightweight bout. Really good, man. DAZN, we need more of that. Tio will do better at 140. I believe that. Whether he can beat Josh Taylor though,
that's another story, Black.
I mean, you can't fight Josh Taylor looking for one punch. You need an arsenal of consistent work trying to break him down. I mean, if you couldn't beat George Kambosos doing that, weight drain or not, it's a hard ask to do it against the likes of Taylor. What did I say on the last weekly about Eddie Hearn? He said Australia is a massive market for us. Now, he doesn't promote Kambosos. he wishes he did. He was suggesting as much post-fight. Lou DiBella promotes Kambosos, and Lou DiBella has a good working relationship with Eddie, and the Devin Haney fight is a possibility. It is a possibility. Kambosos said, yeah, in Australia, we can do it. And that might actually be the more logical location. Look at the gates they're doing out there. I mean, DAZN will sell some apps in Australia for a Devin Haney fight. Unless they put it on pay-per-view. Devin, however, cannot look beyond Jojo Diaz next week. He can't. That would be a total disaster, not just for Devin, but for Eddie. I was listening to Lou DiBella post-fight, and he was talking about Devin's numbers and what he hasn't done. And I've got a feeling they might just have a homecoming defense in Australia. He hasn't got no mandatories, and whoever was negotiating for Teo didn't get no rematch clause in there. So Kambosos has got a little time to work out what he wants to do, and they might not be keen to just jump into a Devin Haney fight straight away. So don't get your hopes up for early next year, Kambosos and Haney. That's if Haney wins. If he wins, perhaps late 2022. I don't want to be talking all this boxing is a business, but you heard what he said to Lopez. We can do this again in Australia. 80,000 sellout crowd. And he wasn't exaggerating. He's going back to a big, big, big heroes welcome. They support their sporting heroes out there. Make no mistake. So they're going to want to look carefully at what their next move is. This shit is annoying though. They're already talking about him being the best Australian fighter. Well, I remember Jeff Fenech beating Jerome Coffey 26-0 in a bantamweight title defense. I think the first time I saw Fenech was Rolando Navarro. That was on ITV before he won the title. He beat guys like Steve McCrory, an Olympian, Milton McCrory's brother, Greg Richardson, he was quite slick. Carlos Zarate, 66-2-0. That's a super bantam now. Victor Callejas. What do you guys know about Victor Callejas? Victor Callejas, who I see lift a man off the floor with a left uppercut. What do you know about that? Fenech defeated him. These are good wins. Tyrone Downs. These are capable fighters. Marcus Villasana. We're at featherweight now. Mario Martinez. A draw with Azuma Nelson. And listen, I'm the biggest fan of the professor from Ghana, I am. But there's a good case to suggest that Fenech should have got that decision. It was a split draw. Great fight. Nelson knocked him out in the rematch. He's got a long way to go before he's the greatest Australian fighter. Fenech actually won the rubber match. Well, was it a rubber match? Yeah, you could call it a rubber. One draw, one win to Nelson. Nelson and Fenech fought in 2008 when they were way up in age. And Fenech won a majority decision in Australia. Could have went the other way, in all truth. I saw it. But no, he's not the best Australian fighter ever. And that's not the best victory or performance by an Australian fighter either. Fenech is a freeweight champion who used to terrify his opponents. What about Jeff Horn beating Pacquiao? That's not a better win than Kambosos beating Lopez? Funnily enough, I don't know, maybe Lopez might end up at DAZN as well. I don't think he's going to want to go running back with his tail between his legs to Bob Arum after going against Bob in the purse bid and then lost his titles on the DAZN app. Bob might use what extra leverage he has now on Teo after Teo lost and make him squirm a little. I've been searching around the internet for Bob Arum's reaction to TEOFIMO losing, but I haven't got anything yet. This is one of the fights of the year, and Bob won't be happy that this wasn't on Top Rank. He won't be happy. He's going to be fuming at Eddie, probably more than Teo, but he's definitely going to be pissed at Teo. Lopez Sr., everybody knows he won the fight. Who's everybody? There's no everybody knows that Teo won the fight. Everybody was upset. Who's this everybody? Most people think that Kambosos won. Senior is saying they booed the decision in the MSG. Did they? I didn't catch that. Maybe he's right. It's a bullshit loss. I should never have fought with DAZN. I should have stood with Top Rank. You're turning into one of them woulda kids talking about what you woulda, coulda, shoulda did. But look, you made your decision. You went for the purse bid. If it wasn't DAZN, it was going to be Triller. Triller won the bid. That fell through. DAZN with a second bid. You got paid what you got paid. And that was that. The only thing I can draw from what he's saying is he's saying that Teo being a top-ranked fighter, that Bob would have pulled some strings and got the decision in his favour. That's all he can be saying. That's why you should have stayed with top rank, because you got paid more on DAZN than what Bob was paying. So he was basically hoping for some corruption in his son's favour at top rank. Putting this on DAZN is absolutely ridiculous, and it just makes him look pathetic. Totally pathetic and inept. I mean, we could also ask questions on what was the game plan for Teo? You're the coach. People are saying that inactivity hurt Teo. Well, it hurt Kambosos as well if that's the case, because he hasn't fought since last year. You know, I'm not going to flat out say that Teo has more skills than Kambosos, but this was a fight that Teo was capable of winning. But what was the strategy? The strategy just wasn't there.
It was a complete rivalry. We dictated the fight from the beginning aggressively.
We dictated the fight from the beginning aggressively. Your son got knocked down in the first round. It was a 10-8 round. You're down 2 points already and the fight's barely begun. Now, congrats to Kambosos for taking his opportunity. He was an underdog. He kept it simple. He moved, and according to CompuBox, he threw more power punches and more punches in general. It was a close-ish kind of fight. Not it could have went either way type of fight. Kambosos 7-5 perhaps. I didn't score it.
Because I had him winning by 2 rounds.
Teo's going to be licking his wounds. He's going to be very disappointed. But victories like this opened the division up. And it was a close fight. It was a good fight. If Devin can't get Kambosos, you know who he can get? And it might not be for undisputed. He can get Teo now. Teo will have to come down on his demands, on his A-side status and everything. But these fights are easier to negotiate. The likes of Tank, Devin, can now look at a TEOFIMO Lopez fight, and it's still a prized scalp at 135. Lomachenko. Bob Arum could make that. If Lomachenko wants to avenge his loss, Teo would have to climb off his high horse. That's if he's going to stay at 135. And even if he moves up, fights with Josh Taylor are still good fights. Regis Prograis, still good fights. You know, guys like Mikey Garcia, if he's really serious about his legacy, well, he's going to have to mark down his asking price. There can't be no 7 millions for fights against the likes of Jesse Vargas no more. He just lost to an unknown Spanish guy, a talented Spanish guy in Sandor Martin. But I think my point is made. I also think it's a possibility at the start of the year when George Kambosos was mandated to fight Teo, that Teo may have underestimated him and his dad, and thought, this is just some Australian guy, I'll blast for him, I just beat Lomachenko, I'm the greatest, it's the takeover. But perhaps as events started to conspire, you know, Teo caught COVID, that cancelled it, Triller couldn't get their act together, so dates were pushed back, his purse got reduced, the second bid took the fight, that was Eddie and DAZN. That may have undermined some of Teo's confidence, and maybe he was thinking, fate isn't with me on this fight here. I just beat Lomachenko. Everything's supposed to just fall into my lap. And I think Kambosos, with the postponements, with the extra time to prepare, with nothing to lose as a betting underdog, was probably thinking, fate is working with me. The signs are there. I'm going to win this. Teo did a lot of smack talking. His dad is really annoying. Teo can be annoying, but his dad... So I understand the kickback they're getting in the event of the loss. And it was a big upset. And I'm not trying to spoil the fun. They deserve the memes and the jabs they're having to take post-fight. You're going to knock him out in a round? Well, what happened to that? But I'm not going to make it shape my opinion on Teo as a fighter. I think Teo is still a good fighter, and he will come back. The question is will his dad be in the corner, because he's going to be getting the Rob McCracken treatment right now. And although Rob is not AJ's dad, we know AJ's conflicted with the loyalty thing with Rob. Well, Teo Sr. is actually Teo Jr.'s dad. So how does Teo go about dealing with the pressure online and behind the scenes? I think people are going to say, yo, I think you need a new trainer. Your dad has took you as far as he can. You need a new trainer. Here's the thing, man. You know, Teo ain't like Tank. Tank's older than Teo. I wonder if some people actually realize that Tank has been a pro as long as Anthony Joshua. Teo's going out there And he's done some good things. And he's only 24. Right? Gave us a really good fight yesterday. Boxing is rough though. Not even a year ago, Teo was a massive, he wasn't a massive. He was an underdog against Lomachenko. He was an underdog. A lot of people thought this was way too early for him. Now, Loma was only 14-1 at the time, but he had all that amateur and Olympic experience and stuff. Teo is only 16-1. He's very inexperienced still. Very inexperienced. A lot of time to go for Teo. A lot of time. He's achieved a lot. For a 24-year-old in 17 fights, he's achieved a lot. I like Teo. You know, I know he's not everyone's cup of tea, but I like Teo. I haven't liked all the stuff he said, and him and his dad, especially his dad, when it comes to negotiations with other fighters. You know, it does piss you off these days, but it's just a social media thing that you have to deal with. But I like Teo as a fighter. And, you know, what was it, 10, 11 months ago, he was the toast of the town when he unanimously decisioned Lomachenko. He was the toast of the town. He had everything in front of him, like he was the dude. And when that fight went out to purse bids, Triller got it, the COVID, the postponements, then the fight went to the zone. It just seemed like, you know, everything was just, I'm saying this in hindsight, everything was just working against him to him finally losing his belts, not even making a successful defense as a unified champion. It's rough. Now a lot of people are writing him off. He was exposed. And in hindsight, I don't think him and his dad have handled the limelight very well. Plus, in between the Lomachenko victory and the loss yesterday night, he's had a baby. Devin's calling Lopez a fraud. Tank was talking about how he toyed with him in a sparring session. Ryan Garcia's getting brave, says he wants his next fight to be against Kambosos. So Kambosos has basically inherited Teo's target that he had on his back. A lot of people are going to think that this Australian guy is beatable and they're going to want to get first crack. I tell you what, man, Golden Boy and Ryan, Eddie's going to do everything in his power that Ryan doesn't get a fight with Kambosos before Devin Haney. Because Ryan gave everybody the runaround, right? Not just Devin, but boxing fans, when you didn't take your mandated shot against Devin. You don't deserve the fight. And if Jojo beats Devin, he should get the fight ahead of Ryan. That's only fair, Ryan. Get back in line. There's a lot of good fights out there you can take. Get yourself back in contention if you're serious. We cannot have slackers, people who don't show no interest in performing at the highest level, and all of a sudden you just want to walk into this big fight with Kambosos. No. That would just set a bad precedence for boxing. But fair is fair. If Kambosos' people see Ryan as an easier fight than Devin, and Ryan's prepared to travel to Australia, why not? Now, here's the thing, yeah? As a grown man, you've asked me the same question, not Coogan specifically, but the same question has been put out there. Is he going to take the step aside? And you saw him vehemently in the interview before with Coogan saying no. He was critiquing the boxers who were saying that he should take it. He says, what kind of attitude and mentality is that? I've got a winner's mentality. He unequivocally said no. Then Coogan comes back and asks him the same question again about stepping aside. And you could clearly feel the frustration. Why do people keep asking this? And I've already said no. It was the same with the Andy Ruiz fight. They were saying, he shouldn't take an immediate rematch. And he was saying, people who think that are not built like me. And this time he said, I'm all about being a throwback fighter, resume, etc., etc. Not taking a rematch doesn't stand for what he feels he represents as a boxer. This is what he said, paraphrasing. But he said, just like how one of his relatives flips houses, it's a three-pronged thing, like a plug, right? There's him as a boxer. What will he get out of stepping aside? Should he take the immediate rematch? How much money? What's it going to do to his career? There's a few things to discuss. So it might be more a four-pronged plug, old school style. But you can clearly hear in the interview that he's prioritizing the fight. How many times do you want to say no? He's responding to how many times the question has been asked, basically. And he's looking at it from all angles. Now it's became a topic. Whether he should step aside, he's looking at it from all angles. Well, if I was to make a business decision, it would have to be a good one, because he's a good businessman. That's what he's saying. But people ain't, listen anyway. It's his choice anyway. If he wants to step aside, he steps aside. You get all these people online. Why didn't he just say what he means? Why is he always cryptic about things? Motherfucker, he already said he wanted to take the rematch, not just in this interview, but in the interview before with Coogan and with Andy Ruiz. It's the same principle. He's already answered this question directly, not cryptically. But if they're going to keep asking him the same question, well, maybe he's going to get a little more creative with how he answers it. Maybe these interviewers need to ask better questions, considering that he's answered that question already. Why is it coming up again? Then you've got the newspaper websites trying to make this into a news story. How come this is becoming a news story, but all the times he's repeatedly said, no, I won't step aside? These websites just ignore that. So as long as he just robotically kept saying, no, I won't take step aside, then when he's asked it for the 20th time, he'll say, well, we'll look at this, we'll look at that, we'll look at this. Oh, you take step aside money. He's never prioritized step aside money. Stop it. And could they afford to pay him what it would take for him to step aside? He's not exactly short of a bob or two, is he?